Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There is a new poll out, and it makes absolutely disastrous reading for the SNP. It shows they will lose the entire central belt. Labour could take so many seats off them. There would be an absolute humiliation in the drop in the number of seats that the SNP have. It would spell the final doom. If this is true for Humza Yousaf, he must, if this comes to light, he must resign. I cannot wait now for this election because, of course, whilst it's disastrous for the SNP, it's absolutely brilliant for everyone else. We will have so much fun with this. He must be crying into his cold wee bowl of porridge this morning. Wouldn't want to be in that house. He'll be stomping around, stamping his tiny little feet and moaning that people don't love him. It's great. Let's have a look at this article. So, new YouGov MRP poll predicts the SNP wipeout in Glasgow. Labour could be on course to win 23 seats off the SNP at the next general election, according to a new poll from YouGov. That is immense. That virtually halves the number of seats that they currently hold. Humza Yousaf, if that came true, would have to resign. Humza Yousaf would lose nearly all of his Glasgow and Lanarkshire MPs, with his party winning 27 constituencies, down considerably from the 48 won under Nicola Sturgeon in 2017. Losses would include the party's deputy leader at Westminster, Mhairi Black, with her Paisley and Renfrewshire South seat heading back to Labour. That would be a shame, wouldn't it, losing Mhairi Black? I mean, she'd have more time, I suppose, to sit at home and, investigate the properties of Colombian products, and certainly not interfere with the fair running of the nation, because she's not very good, is she? If the poll is correct, Labour would also take Naheela Nenania from veteran MP Angus MacNeil. He has held the constituency since 2005 and is one of the SNP's longest serving parliamentarians. I mean, Angus MacNeil going would be astonishing. But it wasn't all bad news for the First Minister. YouGov also suggested the SNP would take Douglas Ross's Moray constituency. That would be an astonishing thing. Absolutely. Anyway, though that may be academic, because under current Boundary Commission plans, the seat is due to be abolished at the next election anyway, split between a newly formed Aberdeenshire North and Moray East, and then Strathspey and Moray West. Yes, it's going to be one of those evaporating seats, and undoubtedly Ross, the Tories will get Ross a new seat, there's no doubt about that, so Ross will find somewhere. But it just goes to show that, as it stands, he could have lost his seat. But of course, the seat's going, so it won't matter. However, the survey did also suggest that the Conservatives could lose Andrew Bowie's West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine seat to the SNP. Rishi Sunak's party would hold just 4 seats, Banff-and-Buchan and the 3 border constituencies. Well, you weren't expecting the Tories to do well at all in Scotland anyway, so let's be fair. But at least they've still got, I suppose, influence, even if it isn't a strong one. The Lib Dems would keep their 4 seats, but they'd failed to take back the East Dunbartonshire, the constituency once held by former leader Jo Swinson. But for Labour, it seems to be a good day. I mean, they seem certainly to have the momentum, and if they're going to be taking 23 seats off the SNP, that would be utter humiliation. Anyway, the survey was carried out using multi-level regression and post-stratification, which saw the firm talk to 3,500 voters, a far larger number than usual. And the fieldwork was carried out between April 10th and May the 21st. This is after Mr Yousaf took over as First Minister, and after the Police Scotland investigation into the SNP's finances saw the arrest of the party's former Chief Executive, Peter Murrell, and ex-Treasurer Colin Beattie. And so all those claims by the SNP that they were still going strong and that these arrests and all these charges had very little effect is quite clearly rubbish, because this all came out after, and it shows a massive slide to Labour. That is absolutely astonishing, and in fact, it's almost to the point that Labour could form the government if Labour and the Lib Dems got together they could just about scrape a majority on that. That would be astonishing, wouldn't it? Anyway, both men were released without charge, blah, blah, blah. The pollster had said, repeated recent bad news stories for the SNP and its new leader had taken a serious toll on both parties' support. And this is because it's mud sticks. Wherever it is going to happen, mud sticks. They're seeing all these things that happen. People assume, and where you're going to get your hardcore voters that, I mean, Jesus, these people could be slaughtering babies in their sleep and they'd still vote for them. But most people, most normal people, sort of drift away from things like that. Oh, I don't want to be associated. Certainly, businesses don't want to be associated, which is one of the reasons why the SNP finances are such an awful parlour state. Anyway, Patrick English, Associative Director of Political and Social Research at YouGov, said the results of YouGov's Scottish MRP shows the SNP have some serious cause for concern, but it will provide strong encouragement to Labour as they look ahead to the next general election, and making significant gains in Scotland could be crucial to Starmer's chances of heading into number 10 with a parliamentary majority next year. And these figures suggest his party is now making strong progress north of the border. North of the border it's actually making progress. South of the border, the Tories are just imploding, and this is the thing. I don't think Labour are actually pushing particularly well south of the border. I just think they're filling the void, put it that way. Anyway, he said that, plus the prospect of losing their own Scottish leader's seat will no doubt worry the Conservatives. Yeah, they won't. Ross will be parachuted in somewhere else. You're not going to lose your leader like that. When that seat evaporates because of the border changes, they'll find somewhere. Absolutely find somewhere for him. According to the pollster, the SNP would lose 6 of the current 7 Glasgow constituencies it currently holds. Glasgow Central, East, North, North East, North West and South. And only Chris Stevens' Glasgow South West would remain SNP. Though here too, the Boundary Commission has recommended changes, with Alison Thewlis's Glasgow Central being split up between the other constituencies. And reports yesterday suggested she could either challenge Patrick Grady for the nomination in Glasgow North, or that she would succeed Miss Sturgeon as the MSP for Glasgow Southside, with the former First Minister standing down ahead of the Westminster vote to allow a by-election to be held on the same day as the general election. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's Grady. If she challenges Grady, she's undoubtedly going to win, because even the SNP know that Patrick Grady is starting to look a bit toxic, a bit not welcome. Unwelcome by the people, not by the party. Obviously, as someone who likes to touch up teenagers, he's perfectly found a perfect home in the SNP. There seems to be a lot of them in that party. But the general public kind of taking a shine off him. Anyway, while the SNP won 48 MPs at the 2019 election, 2 have since defected to Alex Salmond's Alba, while another, Margaret Ferrier, lost the whip after breaking the law. She is definitely going to go to the by-election. That is without question, and that'll fall. All 3 constituencies would be won by Labour. Labour Shadow Scottish Secretary Ian Murray, who is the party's only MP north of the border, said Scotland is ready for change, and it falls to Scottish Labour to deliver it. The people of Scotland are sick and tired of Tory and SNP sleaze and failure. And I remember a few years ago, there was only one Tory north of the border, and he used to say Edinburgh Zoo, I think it was Edinburgh Zoo, had more pandas than there are Tory MPs, in Scotland. But it's much the same for Labour now. Nobody's crowing about it because they know that come the next election, it definitely won't be the case. The people of Scotland, he said, are sick and tired of Tory and SNP sleaze and failure. He says Scotland needs a fresh start with the majority Labour government under Anas Sarwar's leadership. Can be honest, Anas Sarwar has played a blinder because he's said nothing. He's done nothing. He's learnt the one thing politicians absolutely need to learn. Keep your mouth shut. He's offended nobody. That is the secret of his success. He hasn't gone out there and done anything to annoy anyone. And of course, I think that really the Scottish, the big guns in Scotland really for Labour, it's Jackie Baillie. I mean, she just goes out and just pushes it. She's a powerhouse. I think she's wasted actually in the devolved government. I think she'd do well in the House of Commons. But, that's just an opinion. And I'm not particularly a Labour supporter or anything. I mean, I loathe all politicians. But some of them I kind of have a soft spot for. And Jackie Bailey, I must admit, I really do. Anyway, the SNP's David Linden, who, strangely enough, is the cousin of Jordan Linden. So let's hope that that's as far as any kind of relationship goes there. And the one does not take after the other. Whose Glasgow East constituency would, according to YouGov, go to Labour, said voting SNP is the only way to get rid of an unelected Tory government in Scotland for good. I believe all governments are elected, and you've not had a Tory government in Scotland for a long time. Virtually no Tories in Scotland. Do you mean an unelected UK Tory government? Well, they'd be elected then, wouldn't they? So the man's full of crap, isn't he? Anyway, the SNP said is the only party in Scotland offering a real alternative to the Tories. See, this is the thing I don't get. They keep pushing the SNP being the alternative to the Tories. The Tories aren't your enemy. You need to be concentrating on your real enemy in Scotland, which for the SNP is Labour. But you Labour under you Labour under this delusional thing that you think the Tories are the problem. Tories are not the problem in Scotland, my friend. You need to cast your vision elsewhere. He said a strong team of SNP MPs could hold the balance of power, and we would use our influence to make sure Westminster takes real action to tackle the cost of living, protect our NHS, and ensure Scotland's democracy is respected. Well, you won't if you're down to half the number of MPs you got now. You're done. You're finished as a power base. You just become minor party sitting over there with the Lib Dems and the Greens. Not really, anyone's consideration. I cannot wait for this election. I think it's going to be great, and I'd love to see. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the SNP HQ. About 2 o'clock in the morning as the results start coming in. You'd see the glum, long faces. I tell you, it would be cracking. Anyway, let's round up and come up. So things will be glum in the SNP. They won't be much better in the Tory HQ. The Lib Dems will be sitting there thinking, nobody, why aren't we making progress? Nobody loves us. Meanwhile, over at Labour HQ, you'll almost hear the champagne corks popping. Jackie Bailey will be on the table dancing a jig, Anna Sawar sitting quietly in the corner going, is this my moment? It's going to be like that. These polls, if they're true, if they're anything like true, will be one of the biggest defeats the SNP has had ever, I think, since the devolved government has been formed. I can't think of a worse result. And of course, this is mainly due to the fact that they haven't got a leader. Oh well, it's a shame. Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and do definitely please hit the subscribe button. We're getting close to a target that we'd really like to meet. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, keep watching, and God, I can't wait for the election, and goodbye.